Welcome to Blind City. I had to lose my sight to find my vision.
Are you blind? Are you blind? Open your eyes. They lying every time, so I don't trust men, only trust God. I had to lose my sight before I could see the light.
Welcome to Blind City. See, Blind City is a condition. Crime, racism, and poverty. We have to put the word neighbor back into hood. I had over 31 surgeries and lost my sight and fight to glaucoma. I tried killing myself 3 times in one day, and I was unsuccessful. And then I heard a voice tell me, use your weakness as a strength to inspire and create awareness through Blind City, the podcast. I will address the issues that are plaguing our society, like poor education, that are turning our broken neighborhoods into the breeding grounds for prisons, bootleg preachers, crooked politicians that have my people dancing like strippers in the community. Let's talk about it, or we can flip tables like Jesus. Welcome to Blind City. This is Blind City, the podcast. I'm your host, Langford Cunningham. We are the therapy for these streets. And like I said before, the most dangerous man in the world is a blind man with a handgun. Welcome to Blind City. I'm your host, Langford Cunningham. I had to lose my sight to find my vision. We are the therapy for these streets. Dr. Porter is on hiatus. We have our guest therapist, Brother Ajuma. How you doing, Brother Ajuma?
I'm feeling blacktastic, brother. I'm ready to rock and roll, and hopefully I can spit some knowledge that will educate and inform others, enlighten them, inspire them to go out and make a change in their life.
That's what it's all about, Brother Ajuma. And we have a special guest just rolled up to the city. And this episode right here is Convict Confessions. Brother Ajuma, what you think about this new episode, Convict Confessions?
I think it's very timely and a very serious subject. And I would hope that your guests would promote better lifestyles, making better decisions and better choices. I hate to see any young brother or sister in the prime of their life go into one of those systems. Sometimes they don't make it out. It's a very horrifying and traumatizing experience. And I'm confident that anybody who has made some bad choices that caused them to be in prison, I assure you that if they use that same amount of energy and creativity to do something for themselves, their community, they will be very, very successful in that endeavor. So I would hope that your guests would definitely be promoting that.
Well, that's right on time, because my next guest right here, true inspiration and dedication in changing his life for himself and his community. Cleveland Wilson, welcome to the city.
Thank you.
Let's get right to it. I know about your story. I'm going to speed it up to when you were in the streets. You participated in gang activity. You participated in selling narcotics. And you almost lost your life when you got shot. You told me the story, the guy that shot you, he could have easily finished you off on that day, but he didn't.
Oh, yeah. He definitely could have. He was 2 feet behind me with a sawed-off shotgun, but he shot me in the leg. He definitely could have shot me in the back of the head or the back. So God was with me a long time ago before I even knew it.
Exactly right. So from that day on, when God gave you that second opportunity, can you go into what happened after that and how did you transition into the prison system?
No, it was pretty much after that. It took a long time after that because I got worse. You know, I was young when I got shot. So that got me kicked off the basketball team and everything that you just mentioned, the gang banging and all that stuff came after that. So I got worse after getting shot, not better. I ain't look at it as a second lease on life. You know, in that young mindset, I was full of anger and fury, and took it out on the world.
And I know during that time, you and I crossed paths. You know the last time where I saw you, right?
Yeah, the pink slip.
Tell the listeners what the pink slip is if they don't know.
That's the old school party palace with the ladies.
Exactly.
Gentlemen's club.
Right. And at that time, you was on the run from the feds.
Absolutely. That was being on the run was worse than any part of the 8 years that I did in the federal system.
So how did you get caught?
What you mean? How did I get caught?
Yeah, when the feds were looking for you, when you were on the run, or did you turn yourself in? What happened?
No, I was actually leaving Quick Trip on the south side near Nebraska, and they were doing what they called a neighborhood sweep, where they were just pulling up randomly on anybody that they saw. So they pulled up on me like 5 or 6 cars deep after 8 months of the federal government looking for me, and that's how they caught up with me on a pure humbug.
And how long was it before you left the Justice Center or the St. Louis County before you got shipped to the prison? How long did you have to stay in one of those facilities?
Well, I didn't want to accept 10 years for 52 grams of crack cocaine, so I thought I was going to fight in the court system. So it took about 8 to 10 months until I, was forced to plead guilty to the charge.
Okay. So when you're riding off to this prison you don't know nothing about, you're still a young guy, where was your mindset at on this journey?
The mindset was already started that I wanted to come back better, because I was leaving everything that I loved behind, and just fortunate enough to have a chance at life again, because, I lived the kind of life to where, people didn't think I was going to make it to see 18. They say you weren't going to make it to see 21. So to have another chance after the fact of even going to prison, I had that mind state stayed on, being a better man when I came back.
So when you got to the prison, who told you about the culture? Who mentored you once you got in there with now you're in a gang, so you're going into a bigger population with gangs all over the place.
Yeah, the first place I went to was Greenville, Illinois. So it was heavily populated with East St. Louis and St. Louis, which, I'm from St. Louis and always was going back and forth between St. Louis and East St. Louis. And so you get the older guys that's been there that always pull a youngster to the side and, give him, put something on his brain. That's what they say. Let me put something on your brain, put some fat on your brain. So I had plenty of those.
And what happened once you got the fat on the brain? When did you start transitioning yourself? When did you start really peeping game and finding out how this system works and to keep you from the other gangs? Because sometimes, you start hanging with the same people you did in the community in gangs. You start hanging on to the gangs inside the prison.
Right. First of all, let me say that a prison ain't like what you see on TV everywhere, but I didn't know that going in. So going in, I'm prepared for whatever. Ain't nobody gonna take nothing from me. You ain't gonna do nothing to me. And you got to do what you got to do to survive. So one of the biggest things that I remember that I'll never forget, that one of the old heads told me, he pulled me to the side. He said, youngster, you're going to have to learn how to drive for other people. And, I kind of like,
Wait a minute. Say that again.
He said, you're going to have to learn how to drive for other people. Meaning you're going to have to watch other people and learn how to predict their movements and take your time to think before you make a move.
Wow. Brother Ajuma, what you think of that?
I don't know. I'd like to hear that brother elaborating on that a little bit further. I've never been in prison or jail, so I can't really speak to that with any kind of real authority. So I'm intrigued like you are. So my brother, continue on. That's all I can say.
So yeah, what it basically means, you have to learn how to think for other people. You have to learn how to manage your own thought process and not indulge in everything that you see. You have to know how to particularly see this type of person, see them coming, knowing that you might need to stay out of the way of that person, and you need to know how to gravitate towards something better instead of doing something worse. Because he told me, he said, man, you got a 10-year sentence. He said, you can come back here, you can get into a fight, you can knock somebody down and they can die, then you ain't never going home. All because you full of pride or you full of anger. You got to learn how to think. So basically he was telling me to learn how to think for other people, knowing how to predict other people's behavior and how to practice avoidance.
That's amazing. What you think of that, brother Ajuma?
I think that's very wise, and it's a good thing that that OG put that fat on your brain, and it sounds like you definitely took it to heart, and that's a very beautiful thing. And I think that's indicative of life too. Just learning how to move, learning who to move with, learning who not to move with. You know, as they say, life is about choices, and every choice you make, it either advance you or either it sets you back 5 steps. Then you got to work 10 times as hard as you did before to get to back where you were before you even got set back. And so that's why it's so imperative, it's so critical to surround yourself with positive people who are doing positive things. It's a positive energy and vibration that goes along with that, that is very infectious, that is very contagious. When you see your homeboy, your homegirl, they doing positive things, you want to do positive things. Got to remember, if you don't remember nothing I say on this show, remember this: you are the average of the 5 people that you are around. So if you surround yourself with positive people, you're going to elevate, and you're going to elevate yourself to a whole different station in life. But if you're surrounded by negative people or people who suck the life out of you, you'll be doing what they're doing. So very wise words, my brother.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Wilson, with you getting that knowledge from the OG, how did you start transforming yourself? Because I know you start reading a lot of books. When you kind of educated yourself.
Absolutely. You know, after he told me that, it made me start thinking, you know, because when they shut the cell on you at night, you don't have to, you know, that's all you have is to think and just get ready for the next day. So I always wanted to be a motivated person. So I did start reading books. One of the first books that I read, you know, was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And, you know, I was so intrigued by it because, you know, you get stuck in that mindset that you can only speak one way, you can only think one way. And that book opened up my mind to that I can change my patterns of speaking. I can change my patterns of thinking by applying principles to my days while I was incarcerated. So that's why I started reading. I started getting up, getting dressed, and just being motivated like I was going somewhere, but really wasn't going anywhere. And, you know, on a visit, I found myself speaking like what I was reading in that book. And I was so taken aback about it. That's what made me start reading all kind of spiritual material, motivational material, financial material, anything that would put something substantial in my mind. That's what I was reading.
And you also learn how to reprogram your thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Can you elaborate on this?
Now, that's my favorite. The term is called cognitive restructuring. And when I discovered it, I didn't know it was a clinical term. But when I read about it, cognitive restructuring actually means that in layman's terms, that you can go back and reprogram your thought process by identifying inappropriate thinking patterns and replacing them with something better. And, you know, that struck me so much that to where I still practice that today. You know, cognitive restructuring is something that I believe that all of us should be have knowledge of, because it's all about human evolution. And, you know, when you're in the street, one of the first things that you hear a person say, man, this is all I know. This is all I know. But that's not the truth. The truth is this is all that you choosing to know. You know, our minds are capable of so much and so strong, man, to where when I discovered that term cognitive restructuring, I can go back and restructure the inappropriate thought process, because no matter what nobody say, however you think, that's what your behavior gonna display. So if you can change your thinking, if you can restructure your thinking, you can change and restructure your behavior.
Brother Ajuma, what you think about that?
Well, he's spot on. He is absolutely 1000% spot on. In the clinical world, we have several terms that are interchangeable just like that. We call it cognitive restructuring. We call it cognitive reframing. We call it cognitive coherency. And it's reprogramming yourself to think differently for the advancement and betterment of yourself. And, you know, I'm going to tell you something. When Brother Cleveland was talking, what I was thinking about, how knowledge is power. Knowledge really is power. You know, the greatest muscle you have on your body is that brain. You know, you can go to the gym, you can lift weights, you can bench press 3, 4, 500 pounds, you can squat, you can do all that. But when the doctor tell you brain dead, that's it. Ain't nothing left. So the greatest muscle you have is your brain, is your mind. And once you begin to utilize that in such a way to advance yourself forward, you're on the right track. You're on fire. You know, the beautiful thing, Brother Cunningham, is that you can travel the world through books. You know, absolutely travel the world through books. And so knowledge truly is power. You know, Malcolm X used to always say, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. Once you discover who you are, your history, your culture, where you come from, you're on fire after that.
We're going to leave it on that part right there. And we're going to come right back. We're going to find out what Cleveland Wilson is doing today in the community and for his family. And you're going to be surprised with this. This man went from the streets to the executive suites. Blind City, the podcast, ABC 30 KDNL.
Blind City, the podcast. It's headed up by a guy named Langford Cunningham. He had to lose his sight to find his vision.
And let's talk about the young ladies, the young girls growing up without a father.
But I also think it comes from not just fathers, it comes from mothers and values that have been instilled in younger women from their mothers, or the lack of those.
Like myself, I grew up with pretty much, I had like a dysfunctional home. My mother died in front of me, very traumatic.
Sorry to hear that.
You know, it's okay. And my father was never here. For a while, I was trapped in fear, and I had to constantly have this thought in my head: if I show any type of emotions, it's a weakness. It's a weakness. So I had to pursue myself and portray myself as strong. But the whole time, I had to realize it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to vent. It's okay to feel.
Check out Blind City, the podcast on ABC 30, 2:30 a.m. Monday morning. BlindCityThePodcast.com. BlindCityThePodcast.com. I'm your host, Langford Cunningham. We got Cleveland Wilson inside the city along with Brother Ajuma. Brother Ajuma, can you finish what you were saying?
Well, I was talking about how you can just travel the world through knowledge, and it's a beautiful thing to read, and particularly when you find something of interest. And a lot of people don't know, during the time of slavery, the thing that would get you killed quicker than anything on the plantation, and that was your desire to learn how to read.
Facts.
Because you knew that gave you a greater understanding, gave you options, it gave you understanding, you had the ability to think. And so often, you know, we get away from reading, and we're in a new era now where people spend most of their time on social media and playing on devices and things like that. But I guarantee you that was part of Cleveland's transformation, is getting into those books and reading and getting a greater understanding about himself, his life, his future, and the different options that he never knew existed.
Facts.
Absolutely.
Cleveland Wilson, Convict Confessions. What are you doing today?
Today, man, I'm striving as an entrepreneur. You know, I'm a full-time employee for General Motors, ordained minister. You know, I've been doing mentoring for a lot of single mothers. Always have me talk to their children, and just trying to be a credit to our race, like the brother was saying. You know,
you definitely have come a long way. What do you tell the kids when you see the condition of some of our children in our community still falling into these booby traps, making money for these prison industries? What do you tell them, Cleveland?
I tell them the truth, man. Just like somebody tried to tell me the truth before but didn't listen. That, you know, when you on that road making bad decisions, when you make a bad decision A, you make a bad decision B, you make a bad decision C, the next alphabet is always set up for the highest possibility for a negative consequence. But on the flip side of that, if you're making good decision A, good decision B, good decision C, you know, you setting up D to be a better consequence. And like Brother Juma said, it's all about choices. And a lot of times the youngsters see stuff happening, but they still can't see beyond their circumstances. So I just try to widen their view and get them to open their mind up to a different kind of life. You know, that I didn't think that life could be this beautiful. I'm 44 years old. I live a beautiful and blessed life because it's not filled with none of that mess that I used to do. And I can call it mess because now looking back in retrospect, that's all that it was.
Speaking of mess, let's be the janitor and clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
The music, the reality shows, the gimmicks. We see in our community they falling for. What you think about that?
Right. When I was young, my stepfather threw away my Spice One tape, and I didn't understand it. You remember Spice One?
Oh, yeah.
And the same type of lyrics.
From the Bay Area.
So our music glorify everything that's wrong. But when you blinded by the streets and you blinded by social shaping, you blinded by your neighborhood, you blind by your gang, you blind by getting this fast money, you don't see that how disgusting it can end for you. You don't see that, even though you see it happening to other people. You know what I mean? So it's definitely the music. It's definitely the way that we are portrayed, that this all we know is how to put bling bling on and jump around and do all the stuff that's associated with the streets. They don't get a business side or the businessman or the cover of Black Entrepreneur magazine, that type of view of us. So the music and those reality shows, the people on the reality shows make a lot of money, but what do they do all the time? They fighting, arguing with each other. Just stuff that's totally unnecessary that put them in a bad point of view. These people that are supposed to have made it, but here you are, y'all do is fight each other and be jealous on each other and backstab each other. Creating these shows to make that kind of money. So it just put the wrong kind of idea in people's mind.
And that's what's going on in the streets, brother Ajuma. Can you elaborate? Because you and I have talked about this for a very, very long time, decades ago, that the music, the entertainment, they want to keep us dancing, keep us twerking, keep us shooting, the thug image, and we don't own too many businesses in our community either. So we're being oppressed, but it seems like we're not fighting with the oppressor. We're kind of rolling with the oppressor is giving us. What did you have to say about that, brother Jim?
Well, brother Cunningham, is what they call killing you softly, or they're killing us softly. And really what Cleveland is talking about is called social engineering. People can socially engineer you, particularly in any direction they want to. And it's like a game. So essentially, we're like pawns in the game. But they do it in such a real seductive kind of way. They know how to go get your favorite artist. They know how to put the beats behind the music. They know how to make it colorful, the right beat, the right sound, the right rhythm. And you get introduced to this, and there's this over consumption of it. And pretty soon you start to do what everybody else is doing. They take a very masculine man, they put a dress on him, and they put him out there for the world to see, and they glorify this image or imagery. Pretty soon, everybody will start to do it. Look at some of these shows that they put out there for our young people to see, and before you know it, they are mimicking what they see on TV. It's social seduction. It's in the music. It's in the TV shows. So I'm telling you, if you don't have a sense of awareness or cultural consciousness, you'll find yourself doing all those kind of things that are really despicable. Brother Cunningham, I'll be real brief. I've been blessed to go to 60 different countries throughout the world. And I can assure you the kind of music that we listen to here in America, or they listen to here in America, they don't listen to that kind of music in other parts of the world. The kind of music they listen to is very liberating, is very inspiring, is very uplifting. It doesn't glorify violence. It doesn't glorify sex. So if you have this overconsumption and you listening to this stuff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you wonder why your children want to be thugs and they want to be killers and they want to be gangsters, and well, look at what they're listening to. Look at the video games. This overconsumption of this kind of stuff is killing them morally, socially, spiritually, and before you know it, they become little demons. They become little devils. And you say, how did that happen? It was through social engineering. As a psychologist, we understand triggers. We understand how to evoke certain emotions, how colors elicit a certain kind of response. All of this is by design.
Well, let me say this, brother Ajuma. Let me say this. We're going to come right back to you. We got to take a break. But let me say this. You're absolutely right. You and Mr. Cleveland Wilson. It's a shame. We got over 400 girls missing in Berkeley, Missouri. but they want to pay attention to the girl that's twerking at the strip club. We be right back after these messages. ABC 30 KDNL.
Blind City, the podcast. It's headed up by a guy named Langford Cunningham. He had to lose his sight to find his vision.
Hey y'all, this is Tashara Jones, Mayor of the City of St. Louis, and I listen to Blind City, the podcast.
Watch us on ABC 30, 2:30 a.m. Monday morning. And if you do fall asleep, because it seems like the city is asleep to these murders, you can press record on your DVR. BlindCityThePodcast.com. BlindCityThePodcast.com. Convict Confessions. Brother Ajuma. Cleveland Wilson inside the city. Mr. Wilson, I'd like to congratulate you. I wish you more with your success. I remember I took you to St. Louis County and you spoke with the kids in juvenile detention. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
The kids enjoyed you, and I hope you continue to work with these children. And I keep telling you to write a book, brother. You got the chest of the cheetah. Smile. They'll buy your book, man. I see you in Barnes & Noble with your suit on.
Working on completing it now.
Can you give out your social media information if people want to get in touch with you or have you come to their organization and speak to their kids?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook as Cleveland Wilson, Cleveland, last name Wilson, and on Instagram at Minister Cleve Wilson. It's MINCLEWILSON.
Brother Ajuma, any final words you want to give to Cleveland Wilson?
Well, not only to Cleveland, but to the larger community, and that is anything and everything that we do should be in honor or to honor our ancestors.
That's impeccable. For the ancestors that lived before us, that set the pathway, and they put their life on the line to better the next generation. That's what it is. Blind City, the podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, check us out on all social media platforms. Go to our YouTube channel. Also, check us out on the Hype Magazine Network, 8 p.m. Wednesday nights and all through the week. And check us out on ABC 30 KDNL every Monday morning, 2:30 a.m. If you're up, check us out. If not, set your DVR. We are the therapy for these streets. Blind City, the podcast. Hype Magazine Network, 8 p.m. on Roku. Also, check out Blind City, the podcast on ABC 30. You better stay woke. It's too much violence going on to be asleep. You can catch us 2:30 a.m. Monday morning. And if you do fall asleep, because it seems like the city is asleep to these murders, you can press record on your DVR. BlindCityThePodcast.com.